Bitter criticism, second edition on the bus. Yeah. So we had a first one. It worked very nice, and right now we are just doing the second one. We don't have our neither none. We don't have none of our three favorite analysts, but we have thousands of news, and we have the car. Look. So, Russia, May 24, 2024. Home Russia and former Soviet Union. Russia proposes global space monitoring system. I guess this is because I don't remember now, but last week something happened. Something about something happens about war, Star Wars. There was like something like Star Wars, and the early warning system will track both natural and artificial threats. Roscosmos boss Yuri Borisov told Russia Today. This I just guess that the Soviet Union was a great power of a great aerospatial power. But anyway, Russia has floated the idea of creating a global space monitoring system to provide early warning about celestial threats. Yuri Borisov, the head of Russian space agency Roscosmos, has revealed. The proposal was made during a two-day summit of the space agency chiefs of the BRICS member states in Moscow. Borisov told Russia Today on the sidelines of the events on Friday. I guess Brazil doesn't have any knowledge about aerospatial technology. I guess the big one is Russia actually. Maybe India is even more powerful than Brazil. Anyway, the proposal was made during a two-day summit of the space agency chiefs of the BRICS member states in Moscow. Borisov told Russia Today on the sidelines of the event on Friday. Quoting, the Russian proposal to create a global space monitoring system to determine threats from both natural and artificial objects has sparked genuine interest. We are talking about protection from debris asteroids, the space boss explained. The proposed system will not be limited to BRICS states only, as creating it will require the joint effort of many countries around the world, Borisov suggested. I guess Iran can help too much because they don't have even helicopters. That's the sad truth about Iran. Such a system, quote, such a system can be built only as a global system since a lot of sensors are needed on the ground all around the globe, as well as space components to ensure reliability for decision making in case of close encounters with any dangerous objects, he stressed. The system will involve a joint informational environment with participants contributing the readings from installations located in their countries and receiving return access to the aggregated data from the whole project. The system is an open one. We are not seeking to schedule ourselves. We will call upon all the nations that will deem it possible to participate to join the system, and we will accept them, but it's offset. The official also spoke about the summit itself, hailing the event as an important milestone for the group in the field of space cooperation. The BRICS member states are expected to adopt a joint declaration on the matter during the summit of leaders in September, Borisov revealed. A statement that will reaffirm the group's commitment to peaceful exploration of space and rejection of it being militarized. Almost all the participants of our forum have already confirmed the commitment to making such a statement, he added. Making a criticism about this, of course, the global north, Western nations, the G7, the hegemon anyway, they will say that all this is just a threat to global peace, a threat to democracy. This is pure evil. That's what they will say. And well, Brazil doesn't have anything to collaborate. Like maybe India, they have technology, but who knows? May 23, 2024, Home World News. Next news is Fyodor Lukyanov will the death of its president led to a different Iran. Ibrahim Raisi's shock passing reawakens fatalistic thoughts at a dangerous time for the region. And here we have Lukyanov. I will try to read. Fyodor by Fyodor Lukyanov, the editor-in-chief of Russia in Global Affairs, chairman of the Presidium of the Council of Foreign and Defense Policy, and research director of the Valda International Discussion Club. Russia is in global affairs, RG8 on Telegram. We have a photograph. Iranians follow a truck carrying coffins of the late President Ibrahim Raisi and his companions, who were killed in a helicopter crash during a funeral ceremony for them on May 22, 2024 in Tehran, Iran. The tragic deaths of Iran's President Ibrahim Raisi and Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdollahian have reawakened fatalistic thoughts about the twists and turns of fate. There is the inevitable suspicion that someone helped the helicopter fall. The truth will be discovered eventually, but for now we can only recall that 14 years ago the crash of Polish President Lech Kaczynski's plane near Smolensk seemed so improbable that it was impossible to believe it was a mere coincidence of circumstances. Everything turned out to be simpler and more mundane. Although paranoid associates of Kaczynski still insist it was a terrorist attack, but this is a cynical question. Iran is a key country in West Asia. Almost all of the most important processes in that part of the world are connected to Tehran in one way or another. Either it's directly involved or it influences them. The stability of the Iranian state is one of the most important factors in the regional balance. Some like it, some don't, but everyone recognizes it. So the first question is whether the upheaval could lead to internal instability that will slip over. Iran's experts will make well-founded arguments, but to an outside observer, such as the author of these lines, the system seems quite resistant up to such events. In the Iranian system of government, the president is not the head of state. He is a spiritual leader, but the head of the executive, something like a prime minister, not of a technocratic but of a political nature. The president is elected by popular vote, but this is preceded by a stage of ideological screening and elimination of candidates who are unacceptable to the political guardians. In this way, electoral pluralism is respected, but diversity is limited by the approved framework. This fulfills the task of avoiding sharp turns. It's important to know that presidential as well as parliamentary elections are not a process of approving selected candidates. That there is real competition and struggle, and the outcome is not always the way the supreme clerical power prefers. Thus, both Presidential Khatami in the 90s and President Ahmadinejad in the 2000s, ideological opposites were elected against the expectations of the ruling group. However, it did not lead to shocks because the extremes had already been cut out, and now Iran, as in most countries of the world, these days the ability to achieve the desired results without blatant electoral distortions is improving. Nevertheless, Iran's political landscape is heterogeneous, as in any large and influential country, thanks to a complex system of management and control and a certain duplication of functions. The state of apparatus is quite resistant to shocks such as the one that has just occurred. There's no power vacuum. However, the same complexity and the presence of groups with different, sometimes very different interests increase the risks of disturbing the internal balance, especially as the internal situation in Iran is, to put it mildly, far from ideal. The fatigue of part of the active population with theocratic rule and its restrictions on the one hand, the negative impact of US sanctions on development on the other, and the general increasing anxiety as the region becomes a center of international upheaval all create potential conditions for the situation to unravel. And in this sense, any unforeseen development carries risks. Even the extent to which anyone wants to exploit them will become clear in the near future. Relations between Iran and Israel, the two main regional rivals, have become not only the core of Middle East politics, but also a factor of global significance. The confrontation is irreconcilable, and there is no way out. Even hypothetically, it is natural that these two countries appear in the nuclear context. Israel as a de facto possessor of weapons, and Iran as a power that is capable of producing them. This underlines the status of these two actors, which is different even from such weighty states as Turkey or Saudi Arabia. Despite the sharp talk, Iran and Israel have treated carefully, as the recent exchange of blows has shown. Neither wants to take it further, at least not yet, but within the red lines understood by the parties, rivalry is fierce, and mutual encouragement of internal instability is the norm. The situation between Iran and the US is similar, although here the parties' capacity to compromise is somewhat greater. This was demonstrated in the last decade during negotiations about Iran's nuclear program. But then everything collapsed. For the Iranian leadership, the most important thing now is to convince its own people and outside observers that the stability of the system is intact and that is functioning normally. No changes in foreign policy should be expected, as the rudder is in the hands of the spiritual leader, Ali Khamenei. Situational adjustments are possible for Russia. The death of Raisi is a particularly sad event because the president was sympathetic to our country and was determined to work closely with us. But no Iranian leader will allow a break with Moscow. It is also true that the interests of Iran and Russia do not coincide in all areas. Any top man in Tehran will defend his own positions firmly. Well, that was the Fyodor. I don't remember the name. This article was nice. I will put in the headline Fyodor Lukyanov, maybe Lukyanov. You know, in Spanish we have this Luciano name. In Portuguese, Latin Luciano. Maybe Lukyanov is just Luciano, I guess. Musk blasts US tariffs on China. May 24, 2024 on Business News. The levies on Chinese electric vehicles distort the car market, according to the Tesla boss, Elon Musk, the photographer. So, Tesla CEO Elon Musk has denounced the US government's newly announced tariffs on electric vehicles imported from China as not good. Washington rolled out steep tariffs on Chinese goods earlier this month, quadrupling duties on EVs to over 100%. The new measures affect $18 billion in imported Chinese goods, according to officials. Quote, things that inhibit freedom of exchange or distort the market are not good, Musk stated at the Viva Technology conference in Paris on Thursday, Reuters reported. Quote, neither Tesla nor I asked for these tariffs. In fact, I was surprised when they were announced, he said, adding that Tesla competes quite well in the market in China with no tariffs and no differential support. Musk's remarks come as a U-turn from his previous stance on the U.S. trade barriers with China. The Tesla boss said in January that trade tariffs were needed for China would demolish most other cars companies in the world. Although Tesla's performance has been impacted by competition from Chinese producers, last month Tesla reclaimed its spot as the largest EV manufacturer in the world from its rival BYD, based on first quarter sales. You know, this is interesting. Look, I guess BYD will win this battle, I guess. But anyway, US officials have repeatedly labeled China as America's top competitor, while tightening economic restrictions against the country. Tariffs on Chinese goods were hiked significantly under former President Donald Trump, who launched the first volley in a tit-for-tat trade that began in 2018. A similarly hostile approach has continued under his successor, Joe Biden, who has pursued several policies aimed at the Chinese economy. Beijing has warned that such measures violate the principles of fair competition and harm the stability of world trade. This week, a Chinese trade group said Beijing was considering raising tariffs on some car imports to counter US and EU trade actions against Chinese-made EVs. This was just the second news from Russia today, and we have a pretty long article. I don't know why I got this. The Russia Today, sometimes they publish some articles like this. They are just too long. I'm just gonna read the headline. Home India. Well, because India is a strategic partner of everybody. It's the most populous country in the world. Eat, pray, vote. How women are being lured to take part in India's election amid low turnout. Historically, a third of voters stay home in India. This time, civil society has come up with fresh ideas how to attract women to polling stations. You know what I heard from some podcast? I heard that this time India is not a coalition. That this time they have, I have zero idea about. about Indian policies, about Indian politics, but this time looks like they are united. It's not a coalition, but they have central power. Or they have more power of change in India. Understand? That's what they. So it's a pretty large article, full of photographs and stuff. This is kind of an anthropological article. Anyway, I'm just gonna skip the article. May 24 Homeworld News. G7 ministers. G7 ministers to release a roadmap for using frozen Russian assets. This is a subject I like because it's about economy, it's about money. Washington and its allies will discuss potential schemes to get the money to Kiev, Bloomberg reported. We have a photograph from G7. Finance ministers and central bank governors pose for a group photo at the G7 finance ministers meeting in Stresa, Italy. Finance ministers from the G7 economies will release a joint communique on Saturday expressing their support for using revenue generated by roughly $300 billion in frozen Russian assets to aid Ukraine, Bloomberg reported on Friday. The finance ministers of Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, and the UK and the US will discuss Ukraine at a meeting on Saturday in the Italian town of Stresa, ahead of a summit of G7 leaders in June. In the run-up to the meeting, the US has been pressing its European allies to use future profits from immobilized Russian funds as a guarantee for a multi-billion-dollar loan to Kiev, while Washington initially advocated the outright seizure of this money. The Europeans objected, citing legal issues and potential damage to the West's financial credibility. Yeah, definitely. According to a draft communique seen by Bloomberg, the finance chiefs will state that they are discussing potential schemes to bring forward the extraordinary revenues streaming from immobilized Russian assets to the benefits of Ukraine. We reaffirm that, consistent with our respective legal systems, Russia's sovereign assets in our jurisdictions will remain immobilized until Russia pays for the damage it has caused to Ukraine. The document adds, the US and the EU have blocked an estimated $300 billion in assets belonging to the Russian Central Bank since the start of the Ukraine conflict in February 2022. American banks are sitting on the ground. Just wait a second. So yeah, free Palestine. Do you saw that sticker? You know, everybody is supporting Palestine, but I guess I guess maybe I'm too old. Maybe I'm too old and I just see all this supporting as this is just moralism. You can moralism is not a real thing. Moralism is not a real thing. I guess political processes like that, they are romantic, they are idealistic. And that's why I guess sometime at some point everybody will forget about Palestine, because Palestine is being dying for 600 years. I mean 60 years. It's a pretty long time, or maybe 80 years, something like that, Nobody cares. And why everybody just care? I'm not saying everybody, I just saw a sticker on a bus, And what will happen if me and that guy, we are two guys, and that's it. Understand? So nobody is really caring about Palestine because they are just another people. And people care about money, If something interesting happened in the financial sector, that would be better for everybody. Just arriving to the studio. The studio on the jungle. So back to the studio. I guess not. I was disturbing the silence of the bus, I guess. But the truth is, those buses over there, the buses of the city in a Latin country, they are never quiet. Latin people, they tend to be super loud, and that's a fact. So if someone doesn't like the noise I do reading news, they should blame noisy kids, noisy kids, noisy Latin kids. Noisy Chilean Latin kids, because if anyone can make noise on a bus, I can read news on a bus. It's just noise. They don't like the noise of news. I don't like noise of reggaeton. So that's how things are going in the bus. The finance ministers of Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the UK, and the US will discuss Ukraine at a meeting on Saturday in the Italian town of Stresa, ahead of a summit of G7 leaders in June. In the run-up to the meeting, the US has been pressing its European allies to use future profits from immobilized Russian funds as a guarantee for a multi-billion-dollar loan to Kiev. While Washington initially advocated the outright seizure of this money, the Europeans objected, citing legal issues and potential damage to the West's financial credibility. Definitely. So the US, the American people, they are like thugs, definitely. Stealing money from Russia. That is war. That is war. You know, I guess the West is just provoking Russia, Iran, China. They are provoking all these people to make a war. That's it. I have Chinese news right away. But by now, according to a draft communique seen by Bloomberg, yeah, I just read this. We reaffirm that consistent with our respective legal systems, Russia's sovereign assets in our jurisdictions will remain immobilized until Russia pays for the damage it has caused to Ukraine. The document adds, the US and EU have blocked an estimated $300 billion in assets belonging to the Russian central bank since the start of the Ukraine conflict in February 2022. American banks are sitting on around $6 billion of this sum, with the rest held in Europe, according to media reports. So finally, we have Chiliean news. President Xi calls for furthering reform to power modernization in Shandong inspection, May 24, 2024. But I have a more interesting news in the end about Taiwan. It was the previous one. Chinese President Xi Jinping stressed comprehensively deepening reform to drive Chinese modernization during an inspection trip to the Eastern Economic Powerhouse in Shandong Province. He also General Secretary of the Communist Party of China, CPC, Central Committee and Chairman of the Central Military Commission, urged the coastal province to pursue reform-driven high-quality development and build itself into a hub of high-level opening up. Shandong, a frontier of China's reform and opening up, is now an industrial base and a major grain producer with a population of 100 million people. Yeah, Chinese numbers. Chinese numbers. I as always say, I got a lot of advertisement from Shandong breweries. I love beer, but I just quit. I just quit because of my body. I cannot recover, you know. The province ranked third in its GDP last year among all provincial level regions in China. Shandong is also the birthplace of Confucius. His trip to Shandong, lasting from Wednesday to Friday, it is the first local inspection he has made since the CPC Central Committee Political Bureau held a meeting on April 30. I'm gonna skip this news because I want to read another one. Look, China's achieves world first gene-edited pig liver xenotransplantation, May 24. Xiao Shenshen, the journalist. Well done, Xiao. According to the hospital, the patient is able to walk freely 7 days after the surgery and no signs of rejections have been observed. The transplanted liver functions normally with a daily bile secretion of approximately 200 millimeters, indicating the organ's successful integration and functionality. This marks a genuine xenogenic pig liver transplant into a living person, paving the way for full liver transplants in the future, said Sun Pei-sheng, the chief surgeon and the president of the first affiliated hospital of Hanoi Medical University. I'm gonna skip this too because I have a better one. Maybe I'm gonna read this paragraph. Look, xenotransplant in China and ethical use. Existing cases had offered hope to desperately ill people who had run out of options. But no transplants had been conducted in China. The only experimental procedures were conducted in two brain-dead human recipients in March. Anyway, this is all about, look. So China, maybe the West will drive more war in China. I'm being a little messy this episode, but I guess that will be I guess this will be the new format, 30 minutes on the bus and the rest here. Look, this is the important news. Explainer: why Taiwan an inalienable. Why Taiwan? Why is Taiwan an inalienable part of China? Inalienable. This is a very used word in Latin, but we have a view of China's Taiwan region. Taiwan is beautiful. The Eastern Theater Command of Chinese People's Liberation Army started today joint military drills surrounding the island of Taiwan on Thursday in a strong response to pro-independence remarks by Taiwan region's new leader, Lai Ching-te. Well, it's all about war, the West is trying to make war against China, against Iran, against Russia. Taiwan has been part of China since ancient times. Taiwan has belonged to China since ancient times. The earliest written account of Taiwan was the Seaboard Geographic Gazetteer, compiled more than 1,700 years ago by Shen Jing on the state of Wu during the period of the Three Kingdoms. Starting as early as the mid-12th century, Chinese governments of different periods set up administrative bodies to exercise jurisdiction over Taiwan. As the previous news of China, Shandong province is 100 million people. 100 million people just in Shandong. Imagine a war against China, understand? So that's why it's more important now to avoid this war against China. And more important than Palestine, I guess. Two sides of the straits belong to one China. This was a subtitle. And next news. Why are port development and marine ecological restoration pivotal? Opinion, Xingji. Well, I have no time as usual. Maybe I'm gonna... but this is interesting. I'm gonna read the first paragraph. On May 22, Chinese President Xi Jinping, also General Secretary of the Communist Party of China, CPC, Central Committee, embarked on an inspection tour of Risao, a coastal city in East China's Shandong province. During the visit to Risao port and a coastal greenway, he learned about the local progress in promoting smart and sustainable port development, expanding the economic opening up, and enhancing marine ecological restoration and improving people's livelihoods. That's it. So I guess I'm done. Just more 3 minutes. I just did my yoga today. Global Trade and Investment Promotion Summit 2024 calls for economic recovery and collaboration. I'm gonna skip all that to Al Jazeera News. How the Arab world will enable Palestine to win its war of liberation. Tomorrow I'm gonna read all this news. I promise. I'm gonna make a great recycle. Maybe Saturday or Sunday. Who knows? But this news from Al Jazeera this news also, look, healthcare in Syria is at the risk of collapse. I just read this before, but I'm gonna read all of this is tomorrow. I promise. Well, and now I'm gonna release Tommy because Tommy is not Tommy's fault. All these problems in the world. So Tommy is just a dog, and he's been a terrible dog against big males like him. But you know, big dogs, big males, none of them is innocent. You know, Tommy is just the champion. That's it. But there's no big male dog. What I said, innocent. There's no innocent big dog. You know, that's it. If you have a big dog, you will understand. They're just too big and too aggressive. You know, Milou is also aggressive. I'm sorry, Milou. Everybody should know that Mursi is our love. So yeah, so we are a band. We are like the Cardigans. Mursi is the female, and three of us we are the musicians. So that's it. So yeah, I'm kind of excited about my craziness reading news on the bus. Everybody hates me, but at some point I will fight against. I will fight for my right of being a journalism junkie, because that's what I am. And everybody is listening their shit on the bus. Why I should just listen peaceful, quietly?